Big thanks to Big Bad Toy Store for collabing on this review. Check them out in the link in the description for all your kaiju goodness.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and I am so happy to bring you a Godzilla -1 review, and it's going to be from Bandai, and it's going to be the Bandai Spirits division. But it's actually going to be a harken way back to the days of Banpresto with the Ichiban KUJI. That's what it's known as in Japan, the luckiest lottery, but in the US and other territories, Ichibansho. Godzilla -1 Heat Ray version. Now, the reason I bring that up for other territories is because it is going to be very important for keeping in mind price and how it does affect quality. So it is important. So this has been brought over to the US for distribution by Bandai Namco Toys and Collectibles America, BNTCA, and it is available at retail like BBTS for about $120 dues. And I do have to say, I only tried to secure this for a review because when I saw the in-hand pictures, be still my heart, this looks amazing. So let's take a look to see whether or not it's going to be worth adding into your collection, and you may actually be reasonably impressed, and we're going to actually just go ahead and jump into the pictures. I'll kind of explain why closer to the end, and I have to say that right off the top, let's go ahead and do the airing of grievances, right? Let's pretend that it's Festivus. When it comes to statues and when it comes to larger vinyl figures, I know, even though I am not really dedicated to that folks really don't like seams. It's kind of more so a seamless thing, an experience where, if you can tell where the arms are attached, the legs, the head, so forth, that kind of pulls back the experience. So I will say, if that is something that you don't like, then unfortunately this figure is going to not hit those marks, so to speak. I will also note, unfortunately, the eyes are not pinpoint perfect, and it seems like the dry brushing on the figure is a little bit heavy-handed in some areas. They could have thinned out the paints otherwise. Now, keep in mind that for reviews, these are meant to bring out the flaws of products. It's meant to talk about things that folks may or may not like. And if one person doesn't like something, that doesn't mean to not talk about it, because even if you are perfectly fine with something, it doesn't mean that somebody else might not be. That being said, subjectively, doesn't really bug me too much, because let's go ahead on to the rest of the figure, and it is stunning. It is beautiful, and you will even see a low light picture to capture what makes this figure look awesome. Again, I already talked about the eyes, and we kind of looked over it, but that effect is just so amazing. We have the mouth, which is nice icy blue. Again, the paint app's a little bit heavy-handed, I can see that argument, but when it comes to the finer details, it just really makes the figure pop, and it's not just going to be a brown paint application that's used. There are also subtle hints of gray and maybe even a little bit of green that's in there alongside the standard molding that the figure has. I believe that's actually going to be a little bit of a lighter gray coloration. Now, Godzilla is going to be sort of in that classic -1 pose that we see in some of the promo pics, where he's roaring up towards us, roaring up towards the sky, and I mean, the pose that he's striking is wonderful. Now, when it comes to the dorsal plates on the back, and this is going to lead us towards the end of this section, and honestly closer to the end of this review, the translucent blue dorsal plates, I do have to give kudos to the team that went into this and made this figure possible. Now, as some of you may be aware, you are looking at this figure, of course, you will see that there is going to be blue paint that is used along the rows of the dorsal plates, going all the way down from the tippity top of his neck and even on the backs of his arms. And I will say that, yeah, the paint application is a different blue, but what this really does, it really accentuates the glow of the dorsal plates, because those do look close to accurate to the source material, but when we have that light bleed off onto the body, it really shows that the light is bleeding off. I mean, as light sort of travels and it does fall off, it does sort of change colors and it gets darker. So that is phenomenal to see here, that they took that into consideration, that light may not be the same color across its full distance. Now, with that translucent plastic vinyl, what have you, used for the dorsal plates. This is something that I actually learned over for the camp at Easy Hobby, Omega Beast, those figures. It turns out that translucent plastic is not as nice, as cooperative at holding details as normal solid vinyl plastic, if you will. And here, you could have fooled me. Everything looks amazing. Mine has slightly warped dorsal plates, but that is very easy to fix with just a blow dryer and a little bit of heat. The only quality control issue on mine that I have is that the insert for the dorsal plates at the tip of the tail isn't in all the way, but honestly, that's a little easy fix for mine. Now, of course, here's what you wanted to see, the low light picture, and it is stunning. And I can definitely tell you that in natural light, if it just gets hit the right way, this figure can really glow. And what's awesome is that the main body does not have light shine through it, so it's kind of masked well enough. Size comparison for you here so you can see how big this guy is. He's going to be about 8 inches, so for those of you who are familiar with Banpresto's older offerings, which Banpresto was basically formally folded into Bandai Spirits now, so there you go. This figure is big, and it is awesome to see that it has a nice shelf presence. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. So here's the down low, and we're going to do the 360 spin here at the end because it's kind of hard to get pictures of and interesting shots of a vinyl statue, right? Okay, so here's the down low on this one. In Japan, this is a lottery figure, which means that Ichiban KUJI, the luckiest lottery, you buy a ticket, you open the ticket up, and it tells you what prize you get. So you could spend 760 yen and you could land on this as a last prize, as an A prize, whatever the case may be, and that's how much you spent. Or you could spend enough for like 17 tickets, and that's where you land on for your prize. So when it comes to factoring in the price for everything, when you import one of these figures, an Ichiban figure, let's just say that, how much did Bandai put into the actual cost of the figure? It can range. And so it's very hard to figure that out. So aftermarket, it goes crazy for A prize, B prize, last prize. So when they bring it over to the US, they kind of have to, figure out a price that would be good for them. So even though this may be $120, what the actual cost is, that is to be determined. But it's much easier to just buy it outright instead of going to Japan and playing a lottery. Now, when it comes to the overall quality of the figure, I really love this. I think this is a great representation of minus Goji and firing his heat ray. I think that this is a standard for other companies to sort of base their interpretation of the heat ray off of. I love how the eyes are done, even if they're not pinpoint accurate. The mouth glow effect is awesome. The dorsal plates are magnificent. The only critique that I would have for the dorsal plates that I would like to see are them popping up before he slams them down to fire. So if you are looking for like your definitive heat ray Goji, this would be great. And there is an X Plus one that is sort of similar in coloration to this, but it is very limited and very expensive. This is an affordable alternative to that. I also forgot to mention he's got icy white tips on the dorsal plates here. The more you keep looking at this, the more you'll find the finer details.